and create community. I have got an unbelievable special guest for you guys today, none other than Jan Muhlfeit. Jan was and is the retired Microsoft European chairman, sports and mental fitness coach, best-selling author, speaker, and I won't hold this against him, he's a Liverpool football fan. Jan, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm brutally excited. Even though there's a COVID, we are pretty much in lockdown in Europe, but I'm very excited. No, as you said, it was an interesting, career. I spent there like 22 years. I work with people like Bill Gates, and I learned a lot, and for 8 years I was a chairman for Europe. But obviously there were a lot of, great things and great success. But I also was depressed 9 years ago, and I spent like 6 months out of my job, and for 3 months I was in the mental hospital. I totally recovered, but I learned from that a lot. And today I'm mental coach for the Czech Olympic, top team. But I also coach some football players from Bundesliga.
Yeah, we talked about that just a minute ago. Hey, Jan, talk to me about that. I knew a little bit of your story. We've been on Clubhouse a lot together, kind of in rooms and helping moderate rooms. Most people who see chairman of Microsoft Europe, friends with Bill Gates, you were really at the pinnacle. We talked about Ronaldo offline. We talked about Rooney and Messi offline. I mean, really, when we talk about professional opportunities and business opportunities, I mean, you literally were at their level when it comes to being a chairman and a CEO of Microsoft Europe. And yet you walked through a season where mentally it was very difficult to you. And you said just a minute ago that you were hospitalized and had to step back. Talk to our audience real quick about that process. Like, when did you learn? When did the light bulb go off where you said, hey, I'm not okay. I need to get some help? What did that look like for you, Jan?
Ken, I've got some issues with my stomach and my back already in the spring of 2011. And it was, in fact, physical pain, but it was driven by the mental pain because I did not have enough mental rest. You see, I was traveling. I was doing like 200 flights a year, crazy job. I love my job, absolutely. But if you don't have enough mental rest, the things are like getting together, adding. Because in the past, you should understand, in the past, people were like, hunting, having a rest, hunting, having a rest. Today, everybody is hunting, and then you are like depressed or, at least burnt out, right? And it was I've got a really bad depression. I spent like 3 months in the mental hospital and I almost died. So I learned a lot, about my brain when I was like 4 years in the row, best performing region. We were best performing region in Microsoft when the company was biggest at the stock exchange. But also from that time when I was for 6 months, deeply depressed. And in fact, I created some models, and on based on those models, I'm making now my coaching, like especially mental coaching, right? So I really caution people to work hard, but you should also have a rest, not only physical rest. That's what I've got, but I didn't have enough mental rest. My, my depression has nothing to do with Microsoft. It was my fault, right? Really. I stayed for another 3 years, and we've got still great relationship. But it was a huge, learning for me. And I think there's a lot of managers today and people in the business, they are not giving a shit to, mental rest. Right. And the mental rest is really important. That's
What did you learn through that process, and what are some of the things that you implemented, Jan, in your life now to make sure that you do take that mental rest?
Look, it is important. I tell you what, if you have a job you love, you are very often what psychologists call in the flow. In the flow, your like time is gone, and your amygdala, your monkey, your internal critique is gone. And you love what you do so much. Right. A lot of endorphin is released, so you don't feel the pain, basically, right? A lot of dopamine, so it's like helping you to move again ahead. But after, flow, because flow is very intensive process, whether it's in the sport, art, or in the business. After the flow, you need to have a good recovery, good time for recovery. And if you don't have it, and if you try to go immediately back and work and be again in the flow, you survive for some time, but then you are collapsing. And that's exactly what happened to me. So, and I was for 5 years on antidepressants. I'm like 5 years gone out of it already, and I'm fully like recovered. But what I started to do, I started to do meditation, right? I started to do yoga, some special breath exercise. I can, show and demonstrate some of those, right? And I really try to have a good sleep, a lot of water, be outside, of the building for some time to see the light, the real light, because people sometimes they are sitting in the offices, or sometimes there are dark offices, which is not good at all. But then they go and they have a light only through the window, and it's like 50% less, good. Like if you go outside, or at least you open the window, this is much better. So really, I started to do a lot of things which are putting you in the present moment, like lowering the frequency of your brain, putting your brain on alpha level, which is 8 to 12 hertz, and this is helping. Even now I'm still, some days I'm teaching or speaking like for 10 hours, okay, but I'm able after 1.5 hour 15 minutes break, and I'm absolutely like cooling down. And that's the same thing how I coach. I've like 32 really top athletes. I have a couple of Olympic Games winners, because the brain and mental toughness, which is your ability to perform continually under really huge stress, it is so important. And we are teaching today in the school people whatever is around them, but we are not teaching people what is inside them. Self-awareness is not taught. I'm teaching, I have some lessons at Harvard, Stanford, here in Europe at INSEAD, or at Imperial College in London, and we are not teaching students because we are under the huge pressure. Look, if you do business or whatever today, in 1 week, your brain needs to process as much as information as the brains of our predecessors 100 years ago for the whole life. So there's a huge pressure. So we need to have a rest, and we are not teaching self-awareness. We are not teaching how to have a rest, right?
Hey, let's talk about. I know we mentioned a couple of footballers that you work with on the mental fitness, and I'd love to talk about the self-awareness. It's almost like when you have athletes who overtrain their physical bodies, and their muscles literally can develop atrophy, and it actually does more harm to their physical muscles. And I guess when you talk about the mental fatigue and not making enough time for recovery, I guess it would be the same type of thing for your mental capacity.
Absolutely. The brain, I mean, we have like physical, muscles, and I'll be 60, right? So it's not that bad for the age, Anyway, but we have the same way mental muscles. Stress is not killing us. If you go to the fitness center, there's also, you are like under the stress because you do, and then you have a recovery. Then you are, next week you go maybe for a higher weight, whatever, There's the same with the mental, right? You need to push and then have a rest, push and have a rest. This is how the mental, muscles are created, right? Unfortunately, in the US, it's a bit more developed, like mental coaching, but in Europe, look, my Patrick Schick, who plays now for Bayern Leverkusen, one of the best, players in Bundesliga, used to play for AS Rome. AS Rome is paying for, players probably like 200 million euros every year. Right. They did not have, at that time, 2 years ago, when I started to work with Patrick, they did not have mental coach or psychologist, like full-time guy, which is nonsense for me, because, sport today, it's like all people are saying it's 10-20% your craft, whether it's, football, soccer, as you are saying, or tennis, and 80% it is your mental toughness, your brain, how you are able, because there are, you said like people are training, and we call them training types. They are great in training, but they are not able to perform as good as during the training, because once there is a pressure, they are not able to perform. That's why the mental toughness is so important.
I want to go back real quick, Jan, to you're literally at the top of your field. I mean, you're chairman of Microsoft in Europe. As far as professionals go, and I mentioned this just a minute ago, you are the Lionel Messi. You are the Ronaldo. You are the Wayne Rooney. I mean, you literally, in the business world, you're at the top of your craft.
You know what our bosses were saying, that, to be on that, level, it's like playing, I was there for 22 years. It's like playing Premier League for 22 years,
Yeah, exactly right.
Pressure. It is.
Yeah. So my question is this: from the outside looking in, most people would look and go, man, he's achieved, he's arrived, he's doing something that a lot of people dream about, but never get the opportunity to do what you did. How did you walk through the process mentally of saying to yourself, I've got a problem, it's okay, and I need to get help? Walk our audience through that process, because I think a lot of people, when they see you at that high level, they think everything's okay. Can you walk us through a little bit of that decision-making process for you?
Ken, spot on. I remember I was on Thursday in some German TV. I flew back. I stopped in Prague, because I'm Czech origin. And on Friday, I could not move, basically. On Saturday already, I was, in the hospital. And I spent there like 1 week, and they said, you are physically absolutely fine. They did everything. They scanned my brain, body, everything. They said, you are physically absolutely right. Then, unfortunately, I spent another 3 months at home. I was like 25 kilos. I just watched the ceiling, and I was like, absolutely like no interest to live at all. Okay. And then my wife said, hey, you need to, move on and do something, right? So, friend of mine who is a very good psychiatrist, he came and said, Jan, you need to go. You are deeply depressed, and now it's really time, right? And they moved me to the hospital. But unfortunately, the problem, Ken, with depression is that you basically don't believe that you can recover. That's the problem. That's why people, I tell you why I survived, and the reason why I did not commit suicide, because I was so weak, I could not move when I was in the hospital, right? That's the problem with the depression, that you don't believe that you can recover. That's the huge problem. And unless you've got it like me, you don't understand exactly what is it and why is it, right? I can tell you one example from my own country. In Czech Republic, during last 4 years, 3 football players committed suicide, right? And the reason is like they stopped to play, then they got divorced, whatever shit is happening. You know what I mean? Right. It's like negative momentum, right? And this is it. And you don't have any serotonin, which is the hormone of, love and happiness and so on, right? And antidepressants, they need to restart your brain. But unfortunately, in my case, because it was so bad already, and I'm guilty, it was not the doctors or whatever, because I was waiting too long. Okay, I was waiting too long. If I would go to the mental hospital immediately, they would say, hey, you stay there like for 1 week and everything will be fine. But unfortunately, only the 4th antidepressive started to work for me, like at the end of March. So I spent there like 3 weeks, but then the recovery was relatively, fast. And I said, well, why did it happen? And then they said, I said, well, it's clear I didn't have enough, mental rest. That's for sure. And then I was like, what should I do? I mean, I'm the guy, I really made it. I was living for 20 years in the village, I was almost fired from the university. I was the only one. I was funny always. Yeah, like they were making a lot of fun from me because Bill Gates said, what is the most curious thing about you, Jan? And I said, I have a state exam when I was at the university from scientific communism, whatever scientific communism means together. And Bill Gates said, it's contradictory in terms. So those kind of the things. So, and I made it, but then I absolutely collapsed, right? And I was like, hey, what should I do when I left the mental hospital? And then I said, you know what? I will, turn into the learning, right? But I'm guilty, right? But if I would say like, oh, it's bad, I'm the victim, whatever, it should not have happened to me. No, I said, no, I will learn. And I did, learn a lot. So I put together some models, how to coach based on that, because I really know very well what the amygdala is doing in your brain, what the monkey is doing. That was one. And then I share it publicly. It's even in my book, there's like one chapter about, what happened, right? And I try to also coach some, top managers and executives to avoid it, because some people are still behaving in that way. Really, they are crazy simply with I tell you what is the issue, Ken, because when I work with the athletes, for them, like they train 3-4 hours and then there's a recovery. Recovery is science now in sport. It's a science.
Right.
While in the sport recovery, it's like it's sign of the weakness, if you are too long for, a vacation, or you have some, rest or whatever, right? I think we in business, we still underestimate the recovery. And if you recover, your, performance can be even better. You can grow, right? So those were like the learning and what I did. Yeah.
You talked about self-awareness just a little while ago.
Right.
Obviously, Jan, for you, there had to be a moment where like that light bulb went off where you knew you weren't very self-aware, but you needed to be self-aware. Talk about your level of self-awareness since you walked through that moment of depression, through your journey of healing, and how you now teach not just executives, but high performing, world-class athletes, self-awareness as well.
Look, I think I was quite self-aware of my like natural talents, because this is genetical and this is what you like and so on. But I met some, gentleman, okay, and he was like life coach, and he listened to me for 1 hour, and he said, Jan, you have one problem. I said, okay, what is the problem? You don't like yourself. You hate yourself, basically. Right? Really, right? This is why you are pushing such too much, and you are like you. He said, because I'm former tennis player, right? Professional tennis player before Microsoft. He said, you are like playing tennis against the wall. At some point, that wall will beat you again, and again, right? You need to change. And he gave me some book, and I was like going home. I said, that guy is like 70 years old. What he doesn't know about me. But then I started to think about that, and I said, it is true, probably. Because I'm like, running, you know what I mean, right? Running through the life. And I really start to say, okay, what is the next step? What is the next step? What I need to do to like really be more who I am as a person, and like what I do. And I tell you what I did, basically. I bought a book from Carol Dweck probably like 15 years ago. That book is called Mindset. But I didn't read it at that time. It was still on my, on my
bookshelf.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I read that book, and she talks about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Okay. And that helped me a lot, because I said, no, you know what? From now on, I will try to be every day better version of myself, whatever will happen, even if there will be some mistakes, some, issues, whatever, I will learn from that and move on. So I don't know. Look, I'm on my way now, and I love that, way. It's almost like I was trained by some coaches online, obviously now, in FC Barcelona for like 4 months. It was special. I even passed some exam, like in 6 years, they pushed me to pass exam. But anyway, what they are saying, it's interesting that it's like 40% about the results. Like if FC Barcelona is playing, 40% results, 60% performance. The way, you know what I mean, right? Sometimes you have a great performance, but you are losing, right? If Real Madrid is better, whatever, right? So this is it. So I really concentrate much more on the journey, as opposed on I think I have still great results, from what I do, but it's much more on journey. And the same way I'm teaching, I have now Jiri Lehecka. He is number 6 in the category juniors up to the 19 years old. He's number 6 worldwide. Okay, he's a Wimbledon game winner in junior category in the double center. He's a really good guy. And we were sitting together, and I said, look, Jiri, it's not that you are 3 years from now you are gonna to win Wimbledon. No, you are on the journey, and every day you are moving ahead. Someday you are moving more, someday less, but you are on the journey. There will be some grand slams on the journey. We don't know where yet, it's like 19 years old, Right. And I think this is the right way how to coach people, to really realize the progress, because this is it. And not necessarily, hey, I screwed it up, right? Because your brain, your amygdala is 6 times faster than your logical part of the brain. So amygdala is looking what is wrong with you. Okay. If you make like 10 good things every day and one was not working, your monkey is jumping on that one. It's called negative bias, right? So I think that was the major thing. And the second thing, Ken, when you are close to die, you don't think about, with all respect, you don't think about the fact that you are working with Bill Gates or about the money or whatever, right? You think about two things. Number one, whether there was a meaning in your life. And I was like, there was a meaning, but I'm only 50 years old, right? It was short. And number two, if you help other people to find their meaning. And in fact, I clarify, because of that experience, I clarify my meaning in my life. And my meaning now is to help other people to find their meaning. Because in the nutshell, what I do, whether it's sport, art, or business, I'm helping people to understand who they are, to figure out who they can be. This is it, nothing else.
I was going to ask you, one of the things I was going to ask you just a while ago was, do you have more fulfillment now helping other people win and discover? I call it discovering purpose.
Yeah.
Like literally people say, Ken, what's your superpower? And I say, being able to meet with people and calling out purpose on the inside of them. Yeah. And helping them understand, you said meaning and purpose. We'll use those as exchangeable words, helping people discover their purpose. Because I think when people discover their purpose, it opens up the world for them.
Absolutely.
But tell me, Jan, tell me the level of fulfillment now compared to being the level of fulfillment you lived as the chairman of Microsoft here.
I would say Microsoft 70%, because there was some administrative stuff I didn't like, right? That's for sure. Now it's almost 100%. And I tell you what, Ken, I work, for example, with the kids from orphanages, right? From the foster home. It is amazing. If those kids are writing you, hey, you really change during 6 hours, you change how I think about myself. Because sometimes they're like, oh, I'm like victim because, my parents put me there, whatever, right? And that's wrong, because I think like self-pity is creating, from the people, victims, right? You need to be like, okay, whatever happened, you need to accept it and you need to move on in your life. And it is amazing. I'm getting a lot of now, even on Clubhouse. It's like I concentrated first in Clubhouse, like I spoke a lot, Czech and so on. But like 2 weeks ago, I started to do more rooms, in English and so on. And I love it. And a lot of people are, coming to me. And the notion of Clubhouse, like people are helping each other, This is it. Because guys, our brain is wired to help each other, right? And there is and I believe, Ken, what you and me and other people are doing, if people will understand who they are, okay, if we are helping them with self-awareness, easy as it is, right? If they will understand who they are, they will understand who the other people are. Because if you understand who you are, you understand the other people. And if you understand the other people, there will be less polarization. Then there's a lot of polarization today, like us against them. You know what I mean, right?
Right. Oh, yes. I live in America. I promise you, I understand what that means right now.
You don't have. It's the same in Europe, by the way. You have it maybe longer. It's since Bush and Al Gore election at that time, right, with the presidential fight, But we have the same in Europe. And I think Clubhouse, it's a good example how people work together. There are like in the room, you have probably like 30 different nationalities, 4 different continents, right? And people like helping each other. And I think that's the Clubhouse for the first time. Instagram and all other, social networks are great, but Clubhouse, it's like in reality, and you can ping the other guy and you go like, and you immediately look, there was a guy this afternoon, like pitching. I was in the pitching room before, and he was like pitching the case, like he wants to do some project on the children mental health. Okay. I said, okay, ping me because I'm teaching kids and I was like mentally sick, right? Let's do some room together and create some momentum. And it would not happen without it.
Right. What do you think, Jan? Obviously, you've been doing this a long time, and a high-level executive. You've managed, thousands and thousands of people. You've taught. Now you're teaching people about mindset, about self-awareness. What would you say is the number one block for people to be self-aware? Why aren't people more self-aware?
Because they believe they amygdala in their brain. I tell you, let's do like 2 minutes on how brain works. Okay. A lot of people think that our brain reacts on what is happening around us. It's not true. Our brain predicts. Okay. Because all of those senses are bringing you some new experience. And what is happening, amygdala, which is part of the brain for the like stress, amygdala is checking whether it's, you know, dangerous for you, that experience. Okay. Right. And in order to decide, amygdala, the monkey, needs to go to the long-term memory, subconsciousness. And in subconsciousness, you have everything, what you were living through, you know, what you were thinking, and so on, right? That's why things like internal dialogue, or, you know, how you were brought up by your parents, it's so important. Okay. And I think the major issue is, if the kids are born, okay, it's not their self-awareness. The parents are bringing basically, hey, Joe, you are there, you are this, and you are that. Then they start to compare kids to each other and so on, right? And that's why. And then obviously they go to the school, and school, unfortunately, is teaching in the boxes and teaching everything but self-awareness, okay? Because if the kids, what we do in our seminars, we figure out, we are using some talent tests, you know, and we are figuring what are like natural talents of those kids. And then because they like it, because it's them, we try to develop it, you know, like how to use it in the school, in some, you know, after school activities and so on. So I think that the knowledge, what we know today about the brain, thanks to the computing power, by the way, it's there, but we are teaching the model. We are teaching, it's like from the 17th century. Right. That's where I see the major issue. And it's the same with the athletes, because there is a lot of, I mean, some of my athletes, they are absolutely great physically, but, you know, mentally, it's really, and it's taking, like, they think, hey, Jan, you know, you will tell me how to play on Sunday. No, it's taking some time, you know, right? Because those synapses, they need to be rewired in your brain. It's called neuroplasticity, and it's like step by step. Yeah. But it's clear, you know, that successful and happy people are those who understand who they are. They have a meaning, they have a purpose, as you said, and then they have ability to decide and basically use who they are to achieve what they want. What is their purpose?
Also, let me ask you, you talked earlier about the journey. You talked about one of your tennis players, and now we talked about one of your footballers earlier, and I think you even mentioned it. You talked about the journey. How important, one of the things that we teach our people at Gross That Drive is we teach them to look for wins every single day. Like, look for something throughout the day where you won. It doesn't have to be a huge win. And I say this is American football, but think first downs, not touchdowns. Just move the ball down the field 10 yards and you get 4 more downs. Just move the ball 3 or 4 yards, get another down, move the ball. And then eventually, if you keep stringing together first downs, you're going to put the ball in the end zone. You're going to score a touchdown. Talk about the importance of people looking for wins throughout their day and enjoying the journey, as you said earlier, Jan.
Yeah, look, there's a huge difference between motivation and inspiration, okay? Motivation is about, you know, money, results, and etc. But it's like motive, it's something which is out of you. In spirit, inspiration means, you know, in you, in your soul, you know, right? That's what you like. So if the people are inspired by the journey, they usually are achieving continuously good results also, right? And I have some athletes, they are like achieving what they want, but then they're like, and what is the next, right? That's why I'm teaching them, you should concentrate on the journey, right? This is it. And the thing, like how you move every day, basically, you can figure out in the evening, you can say, okay, there are a couple of things which were going very well. There are like 1, 2 things I learned from, and you still feel the progress, even though you made some mistake. It's quite normal, right? And you basically will thank for all of that, for the learnings and what we did very well. You will say thank you. It's called act of gratitude, and it's really working nicely. You will rewire your brain, because I tell you what, your brain works like our brain is processing information in not very effective and efficient way, because around to this there is 11 million bits per second information. You can process only 120 bits per second. So it's a very narrow view. And if you change your perception, the reality will change. I mean, everybody's reality, it's a bit different, because somebody can perceive our, talk, our interview. That's very, very interesting. Somebody can say, well, it's, boring, right? This is it. We are, different. And this is it. So it will take some time, but your brain will get rewired whenever you are, whatever is in your brain. if you will change your behavior environment, your brain will change, because brain is neuroplastic. Neuroplasticity means ability to change the synapses which are connecting neurons in your brain in a new way. Yeah.
Talk about how important, real quick, we've got a couple more minutes left. How important to you are affirmations and gratitude in that daily process for you of really kind of enjoying the journey, Jan?
Ken, your brain, especially the long-term memory, which is, as we said, long-term memory, it's fast. It's a fast computer which can cool down your, emotional part of the brain, amygdala. Okay. And whatever you are putting into that hard disk, it's like hard disk from computer. That hard disk will not distinguish whether it's true or not. It's just putting there. So affirmation, if I do affirmation with my athletes, it needs to be in the present sense, right? It's happening, and it needs to be positive. I used to have an athlete, and his mantra was like, I'm never losing, I never lose. Okay. Wrong mantra. I'm always winning, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right.
This is it. Then the same with the confirmation, the same with internal dialogue. What are you talking, what are you talking to yourself? And the same with visualization. I've got a guy, was basketball player, Martin Krish, in 2019, and he broken his, leg basically, right? And it was like, hey, he's not gonna. They qualify for the championship in basketball in China, and we got like 3.5 months basically, right? And everybody was saying he is not gonna to make it. And through the visualization, he was like visualizing how he's playing and how that injury is improving. We made it, right? Just through the visualization. Visualization is another great thing. So you need to be very careful what you are putting on that hard disk, on your subconsciousness. Don't put that any bullshit bingo. Your brain works like, it can be Bibo, best in, best out, or CISO, shit in, shit out, right? If you're putting shit in your brain, don't expect you are going to win Wimbledon or Olympic Games or be the CEO. You need to be careful, guys.
I love that. Jan, how can people connect with you and get some more information on you?
I'm on Instagram, Clubhouse, obviously, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that. It's like mix of the English and Czech. There's a lot of on LinkedIn. I have a webpage, www.janmuhlfeit.com. That's in English and Czech. So there are, courses, coaching available and everything. So definitely. And there is a best-selling book. It's now in 7 languages, The Positive Leader, which is in English. It was published by the biggest publisher in the world, Pearson. Yeah.
I love it. Final thoughts for our audience today, Jan.
Final thought. Okay. Two thoughts maybe. The world is full of the copies, but only originals are writing the history. That's number one. Be original. Don't try to, imitate anybody. It's number one. And number two, rational people are usually right, but only crazy people are changing the world. And because I'm crazy, I got a document from the hospital that I was crazy. I try to change the world. No, this is it, right? Be curious in the life, because curiosity is helping your brain all the time, even during tough times. And curiosity, what I learned, is great against stress, because stress is like fight, flee, or freeze. Curiosity goes more, broadly. It's like the helicopter view, if you will.
I love that. Jan, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem.
Guys, thank you for joining us on our Grow Stack Drive podcast, and our guest, Jan Muhlfeit, the retired chairman for Microsoft of Europe. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you